Hi, welcome back to litigationhelp.com. My name is Heather, and this is Eva and Laura here. Again, this is part 2 of our series on mediation. Eva and Laura, I'd like to ask you to sort of give us the sort of comparison, pros and cons of mediation. Maybe one of you want to start? Eva?
Sure. Well, I can definitely say that one of the positives of mediation is how cost effective it can be. So for families going through separation, divorce, the amount of money that it costs to go to mediation as opposed to going to court is substantially different. So in mediation, we can easily have a family completely done mediation, go through all of the issues, have a separation agreement for under $5,000 total. That is unheard of if a family is going to court, or even if two people have lawyers negotiating a separation agreement. In those cases, it is not uncommon for each side to at least pay $5,000 each.
Right.
So the cost consequences, I have to say, for me, is one of the biggest positives.
Right. What about time-wise? How does that compare?
And time-wise is just as comparable. I mean, in terms of, and we know from our statistics, Canadian statistics, that most court cases, family court cases, take on average about 22 months. To reach an agreement, to get to an agreement, all the steps and all the court process, and in contrast, mediation can take about 2 to 3 weeks or 4 weeks for that matter. So it's considerably less time spent in limbo, less time spent without knowing in terms of parenting plans, in terms of financial division, property division, all of that stuff, and frankly, sleepless nights. Right, I mean, 22 months of sleepless nights. So emotional toll can be huge. Yeah. Can be absolutely huge. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow, that sounds really good. I also was wondering. I think I read somewhere. I only know about mediation from the books, so I just want to check to see if this is true. I think some of the articles that have been written about mediation, they were talking about privacy or control.
Certainly it's one of the best ways to keep your matters private, because if you go to court, everything is open. Right? So any court decision can be accessed by any individual, including the CRA. So oftentimes, if you're self-employed and you haven't been up to date on your taxes, or you have a cash business and you haven't exactly been up to date on the numbers of your business has been making, those are individuals who often don't want to go to court, because everything that is in court, including your financials, including every aspect of your personal life, every aspect of your romantic life, is open for public consumption. People can come and sit in court during your day. People can read decisions. So it's certainly, mediation is just between the people at the table and the mediator. It can be just that private. People can come up with ideas for settlement, and it can't be discussed in any other forum. So it really is very private and confidential, and it's a great process for that.
Since it's so confidential, this meeting, this process, is a party allowed to talk about their feelings during the mediation? Yeah.
Of course, and this is a big aspect, a large aspect of the mediation, because every single decision is fueled by some emotional attachment. We're all human beings. So if there is a financial decision, for example, especially around child support, spousal support, things like that, those are generally fueled. The law is just the law, but they are generally fueled by people's emotions. So without delving a little bit deeper into, of course, if they want to, and if it's okay for them, but without delving a little bit deeper, it will be very difficult to come to a resolution that they will walk away, these families, and feel okay.
Right.
So it will lessen the chance and the risk of this contract being sort of shattered down the road, because you don't feel right about it.
Right.
So if you go only by the legal sort of model, and you inhibit your emotional aspect or attachment to a particular issue, then that decision may not last the test of time, right? So it's important. Yes, emotions have a big seat at the table.
That's really interesting. Is that what they call interest-based negotiation? Am I getting it wrong?
No. You're right. So interest-based negotiation negotiation just means that we're looking at the interests that underlie the positions.
Okay.
I often say at the mediation table that the way people feel about the marriage or the relationship often dictates, or how it broke up, or the breakdown of it, often dictates their position, right? So if we can address how people feel at the table, then sometimes their positions become a little bit more flexible.
Interesting.
Not every family wants to go there, and that's okay. Oftentimes we will give referrals to counselors and therapists where people can talk about the emotions in that setting. But for some people where their legal position is so closely tied to their emotions, I do find it's helpful for us to bring it up and talk about it so that, oftentimes they'll find some flexibility in their legal position and come to a compromise.
That is really interesting. Now, I know that, of course, nothing in life is 100% perfect. So, can you tell us a little bit about whether there are any disadvantages or any risks associated with mediation?
So there may be some risks. Not every single case is eligible for mediation, and that's why we're conducting the intakes in the beginning and screening for power imbalance and domestic violence. So there are, in extreme cases, where there has been a pattern of domestic violence, of abuse, of all of that stuff. So these factors may hinder a process a voluntary process, because mediation is voluntary, right? So I think that's one of the biggest aspects. It's a positive, but it sometimes may be a negative. So it is a positive because everybody has to agree to be at the table. So it's voluntary. You're not trapped in it. You're not pushed in it. But on the other hand, if there is some form of coercion or intimidation or bullying or a pattern of imbalance, then mediation may not be an appropriate forum, because it may hinder the relationship. It may re-victimize the person who is one of the people in the mediation process. So or they may fuel through discussions some escalate some particular attachment to some issues, right? So if mom says something that dad really did not want to hear, then and let's say they live still in the same home, then it may escalate at home when we don't want that, right? But in those kind of cases, we also that's why we're conducting all the work, but we also have to screen throughout the mediation. So we screen. The screening doesn't only happen in the intake. We continue to screen and observe parties, how they react to a particular item, and if we note some uncomfortableness or potential risk of escalating at home, then we provide resources. And we work on boundaries, and we work on what's going to happen when you get home, right? So we create terms of living in the same home while going through the mediation process. So it can become as structured as it needs to be, but clearly there can be things that we cannot control, right? So it's up to them how they will follow through.
So that's really great, because you're continuously monitoring and being alert to. So it's not like you just kind of like, mediation, you fall asleep. You're always alert as to how you're really helping these parties reach a solution. That's really great. So thanks again for this very interesting topic on the pros and cons. Thank you for watching. If you want more information, don't forget to check out my description below. I'm going to have links that will direct you to the many online resources, including the website for you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Bye.